Welcome to another Activating Abundance episode on Not Your Average Lives. I am coming to you early on Friday morning. I'm recording this early Friday morning. I like to get these out on Friday. And today's episode, I'm going to talk about the abundance with the holidays. And because Thanksgiving is coming up, I thought this would be a really appropriate episode where I talk about different ways to approach and be in the Thanksgiving moments with kind of the abundance mindset, putting that kind of first and foremost, because holidays can be fraught with tension. If there's family issues, they can be fraught with disappointment because if you're not with the people that you love, there can be all those things. And I do also have to mention, because I do put my videos, I record in video my podcast episodes and I put them up on my YouTube channel. And this one might be one you want to check out because today I have a Kim Kardashian filter on. So, man, I look pretty. It's more, my hair looks the same, but it's more my makeup. And since I don't put a lot of makeup on, I don't wear like fake eyelashes unless I'm doing a photo shoot. And actually, in my last photo shoot, I'm not, yeah, I think I did, but they weren't like the Kim Kardashian style. So, anyways, I got up and I wanted to record this episode first thing to get it out there. And I got on Zoom and I looked at myself and I was like, whoa, you know, I look a little rough this morning. I actually had some stuff. You can't even see my finger when it goes onto the filter, but I had some spots frozen off my face, and one of them in particular that is like under my eye towards my nose is like really red. And so I didn't want to take a shower. I didn't want to put on makeup. I'm going to take a shower later, and if I put on makeup now, then I'm going to have to put it on twice. These are the problems that we face when we commit to go on video a lot. So I found this really cool tool. It's really a Snapchat filter. And that's one of the things that I love about what I do is I'm constantly learning new things. And I Google just to see, because I use this tool called StreamYard when I go live inside Facebook. And so I thought, it doesn't have filters. That's a feature that most video platforms have. I don't understand why it doesn't have filters. Zoom has filters. And there's a lot I find going live using Zoom on Facebook, it's just more complicated. And I want simple. Give me simple any day, and that's what I'll stick with. And so StreamYard is very simple. So I found out it's very easy to connect your this application called Snap Camera, which is really, it's a tool that is Snapchat created that you can use with third-party video platforms. So it's really fun. It was very easy to learn. If you or somebody have who has your own business and you don't know about StreamYard, you should look into StreamYard. And I use it all the time. You can broadcast on several different channels. So I can broadcast on my YouTube channel at the same time I'm broadcasting on Facebook, and you can do multiple groups, in fact, or your page or your personal page. So anyways, enough about that. So you might be wondering, like, what's going on with your background? Where's the pink background? Because what I did is a little project and my husband jumped on it. Thank goodness. He's such a doer. So I was using it's not really a drop cloth. I was using a background where it was a roll of paper. That was the pink, was a roll of paper. And so I was like, okay, so I want to have something that's more neutral. And so since I broadcast, my home studio really is my furnace room. It's the room where you put all your boxes every time you move that you decide that you're not going to unpack, and you'll look at those later and you never do. So yeah, that's my home studio. It's a great space that, like, I can do my thing, and it's not like in a regular room of our house. So we took it, and it's all unfinished, of course. So we took a wall and we finished it. We drywalled it. And, well, I say my husband, he had somebody come in and drywall it, and then we painted it. So it's kind of a neutral color. And the other thing that I'm doing, so I'm trying to come up with new backgrounds for it. Like, I put this bookcase back there. It's an old bookcase I found. You don't realize how much furniture you have that you can make use of. I got this light fixture from Kirkland. You remember Kirkland's? I loved Kirkland's, and then it closed, but I got this lamp for nothing there. It's fallen on the floor a couple times. I had to, like, manipulate it to get it to look so it's straight. That might not stay there, but I'm gonna get a Not Your Average Grandma plaque made. I might even get there's ones that are, lights. I might get one of those. I'm excited to look into that and get that done. But the backdrop is a work in progress, and the different thing that I'm doing today too is I'm sitting in a desk chair. So I sit at a desk to do this recording, to do my podcast recordings, but I have a couch and I just push the couch off to the side because I wanted to try to do a desk because the couch takes up a lot of and it kind of interferes with the background. So that is all of what's going on behind the scenes if you care. So let's get into what I wanted to talk about today, which is about Thanksgiving and making Thanksgiving as good and abundant as possible. So, and I thought I had done something about this last year at this time, and I looked back and I didn't see an episode about it. So, as I was thinking about it, I came up with four what I would say tactics. They're more than tips. They're kind of like tactics that you can employ to kind of reset and reframe and improve. I mean, they're tactics you can use in other things, not just Thanksgiving as well. But then I was thinking, as after I did that outline, I was thinking, actually lying in bed where it's a lot of times when I wake up at, early in the morning and then I go back to sleep and forget. But these are things I remembered because I said them over and over again in my head. So sometimes, I tell people, I said, just put a little journal next to your bed. And when you have these thoughts, you can write them down. And so I have a journal next to my bed, but it's hard when you are sleeping with somebody to write in the dark. So yeah, so that's one of my challenges. But then I thought of three additional tips that on top of the tactics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the tips and then I'm going to move into the tactics. All right. So first of all, the first tip, when you are thinking, and this more goes to the people. Let me preface this by I started to have to reframe my expectations around Thanksgiving because when I divorced at age 47, so that was like many moons ago, 15 years ago, and when we split up, all holiday times together changed. It just was not anything. That was one of the hardest things about divorcing, and I think that prevents a lot of people from divorcing because how do you navigate the holidays? How are holidays ever the same again? Because you're no longer a family unit. And for me, I knew that was gonna be something that I would miss. I knew it was gonna be something that would never, ever be the same again. Those holiday events, the Hallmark style holiday events really were a thing of the past. Of course, that's where my mental state was at the time. I didn't think at the time when you're going through it that I can create new ones that are different. I can have a new family, create a new that holiday tradition. And I do remember one of my daughters saying a few years later after I remarried and she was there helping me decorate. This was before she got married, and she was helping me there decorate, and she said, "I remember it's nice to have a home again." And, at the time, she was, like, 20, probably 5 years old, and sometimes you think your children are okay as adults, they can deal with this, they're fine. But then a comment like that's made, and you realize, no, no matter how old we get, we want that feeling of home. We want to be able to no matter where our parents are. It's like when your parents sell your childhood a home. If you were lucky enough to grow up in a home for several years that you had lots of memories in, and then your parents go and sell it, it's something to deal with. And so the fact that and the house we lived in when we split up was we had only lived in that house a couple of years. So it wasn't like when we split up, they lost their child at home, but it's the home, the feeling of home, the feeling that you get when you're with family, when you're doing the things, the traditions. So yeah. So the three tips that I thought would be helpful to bring more abundance into your mindset is to, first of all, if you do have kids, And this goes for and these tips are related to when you can't spend time with the people that you want to spend time with on the holidays. And so that's what these tips focus on. Because I was thinking back to when my first Thanksgiving, we split up early November. First of all, what a horrible time to split up. In hindsight, I probably would have, hung on till January. But when you're in the moment of it all, you don't really think, oh, this is probably an improper time. Because like I had been, you know, stalling on making that move for 3 years at least. And so when I finally got the courage to take that step, it happened fast. I just made the move, and then I was left with, being by myself at Thanksgiving. So what I decided to do is I decided to go to Florida where my parents lived and spend that Thanksgiving with them, which I would have never done because we didn't spend really our holidays together at that point in life. So the first thing, think about the people who don't have children for whatever reason. So put yourself in those shoes. Sometimes I find myself, it's easier for me to put myself in somebody else's shoes and try to experience and think of what they're going through to bring more abundance into what, I'm like, oh, sad me. I'm not with my kids on Thanksgiving or Christmas. But hey, what about the people who can never, ever be with children on Christmas? Because A, they either could not have children and they wanted children, or B, their children have died, or their children potentially are sick and can't be with them. They're going through watching their children suffer in some way through an illness. So they can't be with them because of that. Their child's in the hospital perhaps. And I'm talking, this can be adult children and it can be younger children. It doesn't matter. No matter how old our children are, we want as mothers to spend, most of us want to spend our as much time as possible, and holidays are important to us because they were with us so all these years, right? And so when you don't have the opportunity to spend those important holidays with them, think about the people who don't even have the children to even miss them, right? To even like be disappointed that they can't be with them. So that's one tip in terms of reframing to a more abundant mindset. The other is don't put so much pressure on the day, because that's what we do. And that's one thing that my husband does that I love, is because this past fall, his birthday's in November, and I went on a yoga retreat to Greece. And those dates weren't flexible. They were set in stone. And I was going to be gone. I was actually en route home on his birthday. I actually got home the day after his birthday. It was a 2-day trip coming home. So if it had been a location, I would have been home on his birthday, but I was not. And so, of course, I asked him if I would, if he minded if I would be gone. But I knew he would be okay with it, because he doesn't put he doesn't think of the day as everything has to be centered around the day, like celebrating an important event, like a birthday, Thanksgiving, Christmas. It doesn't have to be done on that day. So why does it have to be done on that day? Well, sometimes people have holidays, right? Like their time off from work is granted on those days. So that makes it a little bit trickier. But think about how you can navigate around that obstacle, because it is an obstacle. If you can't be with somebody on the day, well, like, get creative and think about how you can make another day. And you can go buy that turkey, buy the things that you want to eat and put them in the freezer, and then celebrate on a different day. And so that's what my husband, he says, we'll just celebrate. And I came home, and on Saturday after his birthday, we went to a winery. We invited friends. I had prearranged that. So yeah, so we made it a good birthday, but in fact, it kind of like spreads it out. So if you're thinking about it as like Thanksgiving and Christmas, you can do your own Thanksgiving, Christmas, or whatever holiday you celebrate. I celebrate Christmas. Need to be politically correct there. And so what you do is you just have more than one Thanksgiving, right? So that's my second tip, is to don't put so much pressure on the day. The third one is think about who you can spend that special day with that you normally wouldn't have the opportunity to spend it with. So, we focus all of our energy on our family and the people that we love the most, and then get disappointed when we can't be with them. But what about finding some kind of new tradition? Like I said, when I got divorced, I didn't think about, "Oh gosh, I can make new memories with a new husband in a new city." I never thought about that. I just thought about, like, "Woe is me. Oh, I can't be with my family, and it'll never be the same again." Well, that's depressing. Who wants to live like that and have that kind of image in their head as like, this is gonna be this way forever? So, it's hard to think about the unknown, right? You're just in the present of, like, not having what you want. So, think about who you can spend it with. We have some friends, and they have created a tradition with their other friends that where they have Thanksgiving together. They don't have any family members. They're just, well, it's a 2 couples and their children, and they get together for Thanksgiving. And I think they've done it for several years now. So, who and Thanksgiving, people are so generous. People want to open their home to people who don't have family members, that they can be with. And so, gosh, neighbors, people that you work with, there are so many people, and you can just, like, we've actually barged in. I say barged in, we've been invited, right? But we usually have my husband's family that we spend Thanksgiving with. And so, but we've done, like, where we've gone to their house after we've had our meal, just to be there, just to have a drink with them, just to break bread with them, have dessert with them, because, it's fun. It's a time for expanding and not feeling it's not about lack, right? It's not feeling about what I don't have that I want and I wish for. It's what can I create? What do I do have? So those are my 3 main tips for kind of reframing and getting more abundant. And then the tactics that I have 4 of them. So let's start with, and, the tips kind of inferred this. So remove all expectations you have of the holiday that you desire. A lot of us have the perfect image of the holiday we want, the perfect turkey, the perfect setting, the china, the this, the that, and then something happens, the coffee machine doesn't work. I remember one year my parents had a turkey they had people over, and they cut into the turkey and it was green inside. Now I don't know why my mother didn't, like, smell something was wrong before she actually got to the point. They were all sitting at the table, and they sat down and they cut into it and it was green inside. Now I was not one of those people at the table. I was an adult then, and they had had their friends over for that. So, like, what happens in that? I mean, I think they made light of it. They went into the refrigerator and found, and usually when you're eating Thanksgiving, you're eating a lot of other things, so there's plenty of food on the table. But remove expectations as to what you want, because if you have expectations around that day, and that includes who is gonna be there, right? So these expectations usually happen far before, and then you start talking to your kids and you're like, "Well, are you coming? What time are you gonna be here?" And, "Oh, no, we're not coming. We're going to see so and so's parents." And, you have to understand that when you have adult children, they have other obligations. It's not just you anymore. You had your kids and they didn't have any other parents that they had to go see. Now, unless you had a divorce, but we didn't have a divorce until my kids were grown. So it was just like we had them all holidays. They were ours. And so there's a new dynamic once you have kids that get married, and then there's new parents. So we have the additional dynamic of, now we're divorced. So we not only have, and think of it, if your child's parents, you and your spouse, their father, are divorced, they have to navigate that. Then if they marry somebody and their spouse's parents are divorced, they have to navigate 2 more sets of parents. So they have 4 sets of parents that have expectations on them that they have to please or feel they have to please, and can you imagine the stress on that? I mean, that's a tough one. Fortunately, my 2 girls married men whose parents are still together, so they only have to deal with 3 sets of parents instead of 4. But it's very common. It's not uncommon at all for a a child to grow up and have to deal with several sets of parents and navigating the holidays. So, one way I a tactic to remove expectations is to put myself in the shoes of the person who normally I would have the expectations on. So for instance, one of my children. So if I'm feeling like I really wish they would be here, what I do and have been successful at, it's really helped me have such happier holidays, is that I think about instead of what I want, what they want. What would make them happy? What would relieve them of their pressure, you know? Because this goes back to the give to get, right? The nicer you are, the more okay you are and flexible you are, well, number 1, the happier your child's gonna be, and number 2, the more your child will probably want to spend time with you because you're understanding, right? So, and then think about the tips, right? Okay, so you want, the whole thing of give to get, and I think one of the best books I read, if I'm gonna reference something that is a real quick read that is really a great read that has this whole concept of give to get, is The Go-Giver. I can't remember the author's name. I'll put the link to the book in the show notes, but it's a real short read, The Go-Giver, and it's a really good, cute little story about somebody who is just like, take, 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 and with always the, what I can get from it, what I want. It's like I'm taking, I'm taking, I'm taking, and was a very unhappy person, and then completely flip-flopped into, "Okay, I'm gonna go into every situation with the intent to give, with the intent to want the outcome for the other person to be my focus. I want the outcome to be good for the person that I'm thinking about," right? So, example of, my daughter wanting one of my, both daughters to be here, right? Instead, okay, what do I want them to have? What outcome do I want them to have? I don't want them to feel stressed. I don't want them to feel like torn. I don't want them to feel guilty. I don't want them to I don't want them to come here and feel anger because they were forced. No, that's not what I want. If I get what I want and that happens, then that's not good for anybody. All right? So it's think about it. Number 1, if you have expectations around the coming holidays, be awareness of what you're thinking and feeling is the first excellent thing to have happen. So that awareness of what your expectations are, and then to like try to, you know, r- reframe and remove the expectations as best you can. And again, this I think takes a little bit of a practice, but in doing so, you honestly feel so much better. You don't get your like panties in a ruffle. If that's the right quote, I can't remember what that quote is, but yeah, you just feel it brings up your energy level, it brings up your frequency. You just feel better because you've detached from those expectations. The other thing is visualize the situation. This is really helpful if you know there's going to be somebody that you might have a more because this happens in the holidays. People come to the table that you might not have the best relationship with. You might have some strain. Something happened, oh gosh, looking at my family history, I had an aunt and she's still alive, but there was, my grandmother disowned her for 7 years. 7 years, not speaking to your child. I mean, that's crazy. And so, there were a lot of dynamics in my family. So, like, if my aunt came to sit at the table, I'd probably wanna spend some time visualizing a very good dinner. I'd wanna visualize my aunt coming, greeting her, hugging her, having her see the family members she hasn't seen for a long time and engaging with them, no drama, sitting together, holding hands at the dinner table, being thankful that we're all present and just walking through that situation. But it's like watching a movie that you've created in your head before it happens. It's like the movie of your Thanksgiving meal and whatever that day is, because it's not just about the meal, it's about like the before and the after, right? And usually there's drinking involved, which can create problems as well. So, but visualize that which you desire. Visualize how you want it to go. And that when you visualize, those are you putting that energy and those thoughts into the universe, and the universe receives that. The universe receives that, and you would be surprised how many times visualizations actually come true. It's crazy. And then in that moment when you're going through that Thanksgiving or Christmas meal, you will feel like you're having deja vu. And it works. It really does. So that's what I would suggest. And when you do go through that, like think of the detail. Don't just like, like, oh, she comes in, we sit at the table. That's like rushing your visualization. Don't want to just you want to think of you're the set designer, you're the wardrobe person, like think of the details of like what kind of wine that was served at dinner, the smells, like in your visualization, tap into those senses and feel those feelings. And you can write it down and then read it. That's another great way to visualize something. All right. The other tactic is to be thankful for what you haven't received yet in advance. So this is something that I learned and from one of my mentors, and it's a really great tactic to, even though you haven't received that which you desire, be grateful for it. So as it applies to a Thanksgiving meal, you would say, thank you so much for a wonderful meal with Aunt Mary, if or whoever that person is. And just go into a lot of detail with your thankfulness. And try to frame when I teach affirmations, I make sure you frame in the positive and don't put any negative words like thank you for not allowing drama at the Thanksgiving table. No, you don't want to, like, because the universe doesn't know negative from positive. So you want to reframe or affirm. You want to affirm with positive phraseology. So thank you for the most delightful and pleasant conversation with Aunt Mary. That's how you thank in advance, and it is done. So it's that kind of aligns with the visualization. You're putting that out there, that what you want, and you'd be surprised how much that comes true. Yeah, and the last tactic is just understand and be supportive of your children. This goes back to what I was saying before, that they're pulled in different directions and they're trying to please people. And if you're a supportive mother, they're going to want to be with you. And what we've done in our family is, this has just happened, right? So, well, let me start by when my kids were little. So we had two sets of parents. So fortunately, neither my ex-husband or I were a product of divorce. So we only had to deal with two sets of parents, which was kind of easy because what we did, and then my parents didn't really care about holidays so much. So, but we would alternate holidays. So my ex-husband's parents lived like a 12-hour drive away. So that was a big production for us. So we would have to drive a long distance, two little kids, but we would alternate. And it was something that everybody knew. So there was never any like, what do you do? The holidays were not any like negotiation every year. It was like, oh, we did Thanksgiving there last year. We're doing Christmas there this year. And it worked really well for a long time. And so that's what we did. And so then now that, and fast forward, my kids, dealing with them as adults, uh, ever since the November that their dad and I split up, I've just had it in my head that he gets Thanksgiving. I don't know why I've done that, but I just thought it doesn't create any. I just felt like plus he moved away and I saw them more. And so I thought, holidays, I see them more. I see them, and then my older daughter ended up moving. Now she lives like an hour and a half from him, and they still don't see each other as much as probably I see her, because I would go there and I stay for days. But I don't know. I just thought, yeah, the holiday, the Thanksgiving, we spend our holidays with my husband's family. So I mean, there was a few years where, we were not married, but I was dating him. And so it's just kind of always been the way we've handled Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving's kind of taken care of. I don't ever worry about it. I really have zero expectations around it. It's just spending it here where we live and whoever we can get together with, on his side of the family. So then Christmas comes. And so what we've done with Christmas is that my youngest daughter always spends Christmas with her husband's family. They have a lot of traditions in their family that, like, around Christmas Eve, around Christmas. And even the day before Christmas Eve, I think they have some kind of neighbor thing that they've done for years. So I'm fine. That's like, it makes her husband, my son-in-law, who I love, happy to be with his family and to carry on those traditions. And then we've created this kind of tradition where they come after Christmas. The day after Christmas, they pack up and they come to our house. So I don't know what's going to happen as their kids grow up, because a lot of times once your kids move into a certain stage, you kind of want to create your own traditions, and you need to, like, acknowledge that and be appreciative of that. And so my older daughter, that's what she does. She has 4 kids, and to carry and cart those gifts to, like, another person's house, who doesn't live near you is not easy. And they, are creating their own family traditions, which I love. And so they, last year, because of COVID, they didn't come, but this year, I still don't even know, so if they're gonna come or not. So that's a conversation we need to have. Yeah, so I don't know what they're doing this year, but, and I'll be understanding if, I'm not going to have expectations, because I know that they have a lot to juggle. But, the kind of the tradition that we have been fairly consistent with is that they come up after Christmas, and we have the week between Christmas and New Year's to celebrate together. And, yeah, I'm lucky that they come. I'm lucky that they enjoy time here, and I don't get caught up on the day. In fact, it's often very much just my husband and I on Christmas Eve and Christmas morning. Usually we have a Christmas Eve dinner, and we celebrate with his family, and a Christmas Day dinner too. So it's not like we don't celebrate with family, but in terms of waking up in the morning, there's really no kids running to the Christmas tree at our house. We get up, we do our normal, thing, coffee, settle down. I do, we do stockings. I've always done stockings ever since I was a kid. We had a tradition at my house that we had stockings hung on our bedside. My parents created this tradition where they pinned the stockings, Santa's stockings, on our bed. And so when Santa would come, Santa would tiptoe into our bedrooms. That kind of risky, right, for Santa, but tiptoe into our bedrooms after we fell asleep and fill our stockings. And it was really a great strategy, because my sister and I would wake up in the morning and we would go through our stockings, and it would give my parents like an extra hour of sleep. So it was a great tactic. So I applied that tactic, or that strategy, with my children. And so it was a really fun tradition that I carried on for them. And we also did Christmas Eve PJs. So we did that. I think my older daughter, she got smart. She does the Christmas Eve PJs earlier. Like, she picks a day, and it's like they go up to bed at night and they're their Christmas PJs on their bed. So it's a really fun tradition, and they get more use out of them, because Christmas pajamas, you can't wear them too much after Christmas, right? So yeah, so I feel very fortunate that we've created kind of an alternative Christmas tradition, and we don't place a lot of importance on the actual day, except, we we celebrate it in our own way. We've created a kind of our own, my husband and I, just as a couple. And in fact, we actually have had his mom over the last couple of Christmas Eves, spend the night. And what it was really special for me that I didn't even realize is that we got her a stocking. We hung it on our mantle. We didn't hang it on our bedside. We hung it on our mantle. And when we got up in the morning and we were going through our stockings, she said, I've never, ever, ever had a stocking in my entire life. And I'm going to cry because I mean, my mother-in-law is 83 years old. And the fact that she went like 80 years and nobody ever had a stocking for her, it's like heartbreaking to me. Like, you talk about, now when I look at my stocking and I think, years and years and years, taking it for granted that I even have a stocking to put things in, it really kind of makes you, you know, think about, yeah, I'm not going to be sitting here feeling like, oh, woe is me. I'm going to appreciate every little moment and be present with every little moment, no matter what day it's celebrated and who it's celebrated with. So I hope my 4 tactics and my little tips are helpful to you and give you something to think about. If there's any sort of holiday stress around relationships and family members and being together, it's definitely these I've learned through years and years of experience and doing it the wrong way because yes, and so I always try to remind myself. So this episode was actually a good refresher for me too. So thank you for allowing me to share it. All right. So happy Thanksgiving, and I'll see you, or I will talk to you the day after Thanksgiving next time. All right. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning into the Not Your Average Lives podcast. If you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe on iTunes if you have an Apple device. You can find free resources and learn what else I have going on at the moment that might interest you on my website at notyouraveragegrandma.com. You can also find me on Instagram or Facebook at Not Your Average Grandma. If you liked this episode, it would make my heart so happy if you could leave me a 5-star rating. You can also add a review to let me know what you like about this podcast, which will help spread the word about it to others who need a little midlife inspiration. As always, be you, listen to your inner voice, and focus on reigniting that lost spark so you can start living your own Not Your Average life.